What is going on, YouTube? So coming back today with a video that was actually suggested to me in the comments a couple days ago, and I thought it was a good idea because I haven't done this video in a while, and it's coming up on the 2016 college football season. So let's jump right into it, and that is the top 10 rivalries in college football. Now, keep in mind a couple things. This is taking three big things into account. One thing obviously being just the tradition of the rivalry, the greatness of the rivalry, the brand name of the rivalry, those all things combined. Another thing is obviously the relevancy of both teams up to this point. And then the third one is just how the rivalry has been in recent years. How heated has it been, how exciting, how much of an impact on the national stage, which kind of goes back to the relevancy thing. So let's start at number 10, and actually before I get into it, there's a couple ones that I didn't put in here that I did want to mention at least, that at least deserved the fact of a mention from me, and that is Arizona State, Battle for Arizona, Florida State, Miami, UCLA, USC, Clemson, South Carolina. See if I'm missing any here. Alabama, Tennessee. I mean, there's a lot of them that you can name here. Oregon State, Michigan State, Florida, Miami, Texas A&M's a big one, Kansas, Mizzou to some extent. But anyway, and Alabama, LSU. Let's jump right into it, though. At number 10, we got the Egg Bowl, Ole Miss and Mississippi State. This is a rivalry that has been going on for over 100 years now. This is also a rivalry that has had extreme relevance on the national stage in recent memory. This has been a very heated rivalry the last couple years between the years of Chad Kelly and Dak Prescott and Bo Wallace. And it should continue into the near future, considering Mississippi State might not be great this coming year, but they will at least be a formidable team. Ole Miss leads the series 63-43-6, or 63, yeah. That's what I meant. And I'd say that they'd be the favorite to take it again in 2016. Next one, oldest rivalry in the West, Cal versus Stanford. So this rivalry is made for some of the greatest moments in college football history. I'd say traditionally it should be higher than 9, but just the fact that Stanford's dominated this rivalry in recent memory, at least through the last couple of years, they've just been so much better than Cal. Stanford leads the series overall 61-46-11. And I assume they'd be the favorites to win in 2016 again. A rivalry that just has made for, I mean, if you watch any college football greatest moments, there's going to be parts from the CalStanford rivalry on there. It's just going to be that way. So at number 8, we got USC and Notre Dame. So there's a lot of USC rivalries you can put on here. There's a lot of Notre Dame rivalries you can put on here. Some people might have USC Notre Dame ranked as high as number 3. It's been a rivalry since, I believe, 1900. It's been a very back-and-forth rivalry. Notre Dame leads the series 46 wins, 36 losses, and 5 ties. And, you know, again, recent years it's gone back and forth. It seemed throughout the mid-2000s was when USC really dominated. In recent years, it's been Notre Dame's rivalry for the taking. I believe they won last year. But again, USC, a team that everyone's kind of waiting to get back up to that point of not I wouldn't say relevancy, because they're still relevant at least every year, but to that point of, you know, being in the national title picture at the end, actually being in the national title picture at the end of the year. You know, they were even in the Pac-12 title game last year, so you can't say they're not relevant anymore, because that's just not true. But you like to, I mean, I guess as a USC fan, not myself, but as a USC fan or a college football fan, you'd like to see them get back to where they were maybe 5-10 years ago. But anyway, number 7, we got BYU and Utah, the Holy War, a game that was really cool because they got to meet in a bowl game last year, which Utah was absolutely destroying BYU after the first half, 35-0. The BYU almost came back and won, but ended up losing 35-28. Overall, Utah's had a pretty good stranglehold on the rivalry. They have 58 wins, 34 losses, and 4 ties. Utah, actually both teams have been somewhat relevant in recent memory. BYU has been kind of a model of consistency recently when it comes to at least being like an 8 to 9 win program every single year. Utah had a pretty good season last year. They've had a somewhat successful move to the Pac-12 overall. And even before that, obviously they were pretty good when they were, I believe, over in the Mountain West. Anyway, at number 6, we got Florida and Florida State. Now, I got this ranked a little bit higher than I think a couple people would, because I really think that this is going to be, I think this is a very relevant rivalry right now. I think it's been a very relevant rivalry throughout the last 15 years, considering both these programs have won, a combined 4? Yeah, I want to say 4 national titles in the last 15 years. So, both teams are relevant. The rivalry is very relevant. Last year, Florida just couldn't score points. Overall, Florida does lead, though, 34 wins, 34 losses. Yeah, 34 wins, 24 losses, and 2 ties. Florida's kind of lost a hold on it in recent years, like last 2-3 years. But we'll see what happens this year if they can put together a little bit of a better offense. Both teams have high expectations. Florida State's a little bit higher than Florida's, though. So at number 5, got Harvard and Yale. So this is the only FCS rivalry on here. And obviously I don't know if this is the oldest rivalry in college football. I cannot remember. I'd assume it is. Yale leads at 65 wins, 58 losses, and 8 ties. Obviously neither a huge football school, but if you want to go watch something cool, go look up some highlights on YouTube of just like people tailgating, people getting ready for it. It's a very crazy thing that has its own little Ivy League spin to it. So at number 4, we got Oklahoma and Texas, the Red River rivalry. Thing that's kind of lost its spark, lost its shine in recent years. Last year was an exciting game, but even Texas wasn't relevant last year. Oklahoma overall has really been the only relevant team over the last 5 years, really since Texas made it to the national championship back in 2009. Overall, Texas does lead the series, 61 wins, 44 losses, and 5 ties. Somehow, again, they were able to beat OU last year when Texas ended up 5-7, and then I believe OU ended up 12-2, 11-2. 11-2 sounds right. Yeah, that is. Anyway, it's a competitive rivalry. It pretty much always is. OU and Texas will still always hate each other. Each team also has its own in-state rival that, it is another big rivalry. OU's got Oklahoma State, and then Texas has got Texas A&M, and even Texas Tech to some degree. But again, it's a rivalry that you just can't go without mentioning on this list. Just both teams have just such historic national powers. So at number 3, we got Army and Navy. So again, obviously both teams not really relevant on our national picture, but you can't go through a top 5 list without naming Army Navy. It's a cool game to watch. It's a game to watch later in the year in December when there's really nothing else going on. I believe I can't remember if it's sandwiched in between conference championship weekend and then before bowl games come out. I think it's because it's after the last week of college football. But either way, it's a fun game to watch. It's something I like to watch every year. And even when you're watching it, it seems like you can at least appreciate the tradition that's there and how much those people care about it. But Navy leads at 60 wins, 49 losses, 7 ties. They've kind of had a stranglehold on the rivalry in recent years. At number 2, we got Auburn and Alabama, the Iron Bowl. So the top 2 is where it really gets juicy in recent years. The state of Alabama has won quite a few of national championships over the last 8 years, 7-8 years. Obviously Auburn with only one of them, but Alabama with the other 5, 6, something like that. I believe it's 5. Anyway, it might be 4. I can't remember that right now. Anyway, Auburn has not won since 2013, which was last year they made it to the national championship. It seems like whoever wins that game every year now is the team that ends up going to the national championship. That's just kind of the way it's gone. Maybe besides 2014 when Ohio State ended up winning it all, but even so, Alabama was still very close to making it. Overall, Alabama does lead the series, 44 wins, 35 losses, and 1 tie. They're normally the favorites heading into the game, but again, Auburn's still one of the better college football programs in history. And again, the bloodbath here in this rivalry is just unmatched by or it can be matched by very, very few rivalries. So number one, the game, Ohio State versus Michigan. I don't know if there's more hate between two schools than Ohio State and Michigan. I mean, each has their own set of rivals. I mean, Ohio State really only has, like, out of colossal rivalries, they really only have Michigan, because Michigan still has Michigan State. That's a pretty big one. Ohio State has its other ones. I mean, you could kind of consider Cincinnati a rival, but not really. It hasn't really been anything relevant in recent years. I guess Ohio State, Michigan State, even to some degree, is somewhat of a rivalry. But again, with Jim Harbaugh returning, it's just this rivalry gets so juicy, especially with the way it happened last year, and with Michigan being expected to be better than Ohio State this year, and the way Ohio State's dominated the rivalry in recent years, and then the whole storyline of Michigan coming up, and again being as good as they're expected to be this year. Overall, Michigan leads the rivalry in the series, 58 wins, 48 losses, and 6 ties. Again, Ohio State has kind of dominated this rivalry in recent years, especially with the 42-13 shellacking they gave Michigan last year. But again, it's just such a juicy rivalry. I mean, I'll be honest, when I'm talking about the top 3 rivalries, you could put Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, Auburn, or Army, Navy, 1, 2, 3. That's in any order, and I wouldn't argue with you. But this is just kind of the way it goes for me, especially right now. But anyway, that'll pretty much do it for this video. Like I said, fun to talk about. Things like rivalries and all that stuff. But yeah, like I said, I get that some people are going to disagree with some of the rivalries I picked. But anyhow, all those rivalries are rivalries you can appreciate, and I think most people watch, at least to some degree, or at least most of them. Anyway, that's pretty much it. See ya.